Now my daughter bought me and the wife 2 tickets to the Arkansas, Missouri Railroad excursion train. And we took that trip in mid-August of 2019, and I wanted to show you what that trip was like. The cars that we rode in were beautifully restored. The conductors would tell you various things that happened along the railroad line. We ate at a really nice restaurant on Main Street, Van Buren. Our conductor was a really cool guy. Most of his time was spent either serving us, as a steward would serve you soda and chips and things like that. They were very reasonably priced. The soda pop was $1, and that was served in a plastic cup with ice. Of course, you could get water, and they also had coffee. Little chairs, a bench chair. Most of the seating was tables with chairs around them. They were comfortable, they were padded. On the trip back from Van Buren to Springdale, the back car becomes the front car because they actually take the engine and move it from what was the front around the train and hook it back up to the front and then pull it back to Springdale. It's an interesting process, and I thought that it would take a good while for them to do it, but they obviously could do it very quickly. The train was equipped with handicap accessible lifts so that you could get on and off the train. The depot in Van Buren was beautifully redone, had a museum in it. Now, unfortunately, I didn't go into the museum. I actually walked by it, ended up going to the trolley, which is a free trolley. The trolley was very nicely adorned. It was very nice on the inside. It had padded seats also. That's something that's important for an old guy like me. The trolley is about a 20-minute ride to the various trolley stops. You can get off the trolley, look around at a certain place, get back on the trolley, and I think it makes that circle about every 20 minutes. The driver that we had was a very nice lady who obviously enjoyed her job very much, and she told us about Van Buren history. Van Buren, by the way, was named after President Van Buren. It was very nice to hear her talk about buildings, people that built Van Buren. Some of the architecture was just rare. I was born in 1950, so I saw turn-of-the-century towns and grew up in towns that were born in the middle 1800s. Van Buren, they do a lot to honor veterans. They have Hometown Heroes program where they have posters hung all over town. They have large pictures of soldiers, sailors, Marines, Coast Guard personnel. They have a flag feature and a water feature. Now this is in a park. Flags fly, water's running down, it's very well tended. There is an individual monument for each one of the services: Air Force, Navy, Army, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and those are quite nice to see. Across the street from that is I think it's called Freedom Park, and it has a water feature in it. It's a fairly large area in the park, and it has a water fountain. Kids can get in it and play in the water and splash around. And there were some playing in it when we were there, and they seemed to be having a thoroughly good time. Now, the park itself is very well tended. It's right next to the train track. It's maybe a 2-minute walk. It's not even a 2-minute walk. It's a 1-minute walk from where you get off the train. They have covered pavilions, several bigger ones, and there were people there that were selling crafts. In the park, they also had a very nice, it was like a gazebo that a band or performers could work from. Some of the old buildings in town were just really nice. I particularly like the ones that were converted into antique stores and restaurants, a lot of them having an artistic sort of twist to how they did the town. We were given the chance to walk around there for about 2.5 to 3 hours, from about 10 o'clock, 10:30 to about 2 o'clock. So we had a chance to eat at one of the restaurants. In a 3-hour visit, you can get a good lay of the town, but if you wanted to go into all the stores, shop all the antique places, poke your head into all the restaurants, if you wanted to visit the pioneer Civil War era cemetery that they have kept very nicely tended and is very close to the depot, actually, that would take a little extra time. They have some of the founders' homes that have been restored. They have a restored opera house. It was there to entertain folks. Very nice and very ornate. I guess that was popular before they had moving pictures, during the time that vaudeville was a big thing. The builder of it had apparently been to New York and seen Broadway, I guess, and some of those kinds of theaters, and came back and decided that he was going to build something that Van Buren could be proud of and the people could be proud of. And so that's what he did. After it was built for a few years, it burned, but they restored it, and to actually go in and sit in the seats and so forth is free. They had it was about a 20-minute film about the history of the theater and so forth. It was like a short movie. Well done. They repeatedly show so that you can go in and have a seat. One of the things that I was really pleased with is the day that we went, it was like, I think, 100 degrees heat index that day, very hot. The train itself was very nicely air conditioned to see all the crossings, to see the bridges and the creeks and some of the older homes that were built, and the small towns that had built up around the railroad. In riding the train, you get to go through a really nice long tunnel that was built when the railroad was first built. And there are trestles, which we learned the difference between a trestle and a bridge is the fact that a trestle is like a table with 4 legs that holds the top of it up, or maybe 6 or 8 or 10 legs, whereas a bridge has an upper support, I guess like an arch and framework there to hold it up. So what's my impression of the Arkansas-Missouri Railroad excursion train? Good. I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. Now, my daughter bought the tickets for us on Groupon and got a pretty good deal on it. They run the train, I guess, close to year-round, and they have special trips that they make. For example, during Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue, they ferry people up to Dixon Street back and forth, which are very short runs, maybe 10-minute runs. During the Christmas season, they have Christmas trains. I'm not sure what they do with that, but I think it's wonderful for the kids. Those are very well tended, and I think people need to buy tickets for that early on. They also, I guess, in the latter part of September, early to middle October, depending on when the trees start to turn, they have what they call a fall foliage tour. Very popular, and I think they probably have a full house on most, if not all, of those runs, because that occurs, during the craft season here in northwest Arkansas. This is a rare find. I think the Arkansas-Missouri Railroad excursion train is something that ought to be a must-do for anybody that's from Arkansas. I'm really sorry that I didn't do it before. They have trips of different lengths. Now, the trip from Van Buren to Springdale, there and back with that layover I talked of, that takes about 2.5 hours to get to Van Buren from Springdale. You're there for 3 hours, and then it takes about 2.5 hours to get back. So if you leave at 8, get there at 10:30, leave Van Buren at 2, you get back just maybe a tad before 5 or around 5. You've had a full day. So they really would like for you to be there probably no earlier than 7:45 in the morning, but they don't want you to miss the train at 8. One thing I should mention is that the train station in Springdale has a museum. They don't charge you to go into it. It appears that if you buy a ticket on the train, you just go through it and look at it. It's really pretty neat, with a lot of antiques and train-related memorabilia, pictures. They have a short movie that you can watch. They have a train set there that's making train noises and so forth. By the way, if you like train noises, the rocking and the sound of the rails and the whistle, the clanging of the bell, those kinds of things, you'll get all of that you want, because they're mandated to ring those bells or sound that whistle, I guess, every time they go across a crossing or where they might impact other traffic. There are some mandated speed zones that they do have to slow down a little bit, but it's still very entertaining, very relaxing, particularly since the conductor is giving you an ongoing history lesson the whole time you're going back and forth. It answers people's questions. Definitely a family-oriented activity. So I highly endorse the railroad. The personnel that were running it were excellent. The Groupon ticket, they apparently do a lot of business with Groupon, because we walked in, had that little thing you print off, and within 2 minutes we both had our tickets, and we were in the gift shop looking around, and then we went on down to the boarding platform, posed with a wooden figure, looked at the museum, and then got a briefing about the train and when we would leave. And it is handicapped accessible, so that shouldn't be a concern for anybody. This is Black Bear 6 with another of my crazy old man videos. I hope you enjoyed it. We certainly enjoyed our trip. Y'all be careful out there. BlackBearSix.TV is the place to be.